Pick. We're going to be doing a league today. We're going to start with the regular 5-match league. Later on, we'll probably try a 9-match friendly league and kind of review how we like it, but we're going to start with the regular one for the regular times. Let's go ahead and join our league with 28 event tickets.
Is that us opening the packs, that sound?
Yeah, it makes the crinkly sound for us. All right.
Oh.
So let's go ahead and sort it by rarity first. Okay. So let's talk about the rares. Symbion's Sinful is a great white rare.
Nice.
We've got two two-colored rares and 2 lands, which is less than exciting.
Yeah, the lands are super depressing. Because
Yeah.
they're pretty worthless.
I don't mind Fevered Visions here. Normally this card looks pretty bad. But if you have a deck that can synergistically make a lot of bounce spells and bounce a lot of stuff back to your opponent's hand, they end up taking damage. And you just play a lot of cheap spells. The downside here is it's harder to craft this deck in Sealed. The upside is that Sealed is slower, so your opponent's probably playing more expensive cards. That said, I doubt we'll be able to play it. We have 2 Grixis colored lands, so we're hopefully going to play black. Welcome to the Fold is a great card. Just if we can madness it, we can steal bombs, we can steal regular creatures. It's a great 2-for-1. You know, you take 1 creature off their board, and you add 1 creature to your board. And it can be unconditional with madness. And Prized Amalgam is solid. I mean, if we're in blue,
3 for 3 might come back from the graveyard.
Yeah, if we're playing that. So I would like to play, looking at just the rares, probably Esper. I don't know. But anyway, let's go ahead and sort this by color and actually look at what's going on here.
Yeah, so I suggest we that empty column you've made there, just dump all the cards we're not going to play into that one column.
Alright. So let's pull our lands over here. I just want to check the lands. We have the common and uncommon lands to see. We've got a small little stack here, but
yeah, I mean,
no significant overlap, but enough where we could play any 3 colors and run 1 or 2 of these lands, which is nice, because we're probably running 3 colors, unless we're running just really good bombs.
Yeah, I hope to not run 3 colors. I think the deck just runs smoother if you don't do that, but we have to do what we have to do. So, let's pull all the cards we don't want to play into a pile.
Let's put all the green cards that we like quite a bit in one pile first.
Okay.
And I'm actually digging green so far. Like, all of these
good,
16 cards, I think, are cards that really make me want to play green. And then let's put in the acceptable cards. Those are acceptable. Weirding Wood's good if we're doing clues or splashing. Crawling Sensation and both of the vessels are good if Delirium is a thing. Or we're just light on playables, but don't mind good filler cards. I consider Vessel of Nascency a good filler card. It doesn't make your deck significantly better unless you have Delirium, but it makes your card quality slightly better. So
yeah, even the Dryad's okay. Not great.
We'll go ahead and put the Dryad over here. Let's put these cards with the lands. This will be our trash pile. I like this.
Alright.
I like this. I like the first Spiteful Motives quite a bit.
It's okay.
Red's harder to tell because a lot of the red cards want to go in a specific deck. Like, a lot of these cards go into this very, very aggressive deck. Like, let's put all these super aggressive cards, the super aggressive madness type cards, together.
And we actually have a pretty good amount of them.
Yeah. I don't mind Skin Invasion, but it just depends how the deck looks. Same thing for the Hulking Devils and the Convicted Killer.
I, in fact, like Skin Invasion. I think that's very good.
You have to make sure that your deck's going to work with it. Like, if we play Skin Invasion, we need a creature that can profitably block it. None of these red creatures would do that.
Well, yeah, but we have another color. Skin Invasion's a good card. That's all we're doing right now is sorting good cards from we really don't want to play these cards.
To me, Skin Invasion fits in the same kind of category as Cynthia Masquerade. A great card in the right deck and a bad card in the wrong deck.
Oh, okay. I think it's a great card in almost any deck because it's a 1-drop. And for a 1-drop, it has quite a significant upside.
Well, it's not a 1-drop, and you're not going to play it on turn 1 often. Alright, let's put the black
But
cards
you still get to play it for 1 mana.
that I like.
I think you're really down on this 3/3 for Delirium, but I think that's worth playing in a Delirium deck.
3/3 for Delirium.
Yeah, these.
Oh, this time. Yeah, it just goes to specific deck. It's not good on its own. These are the good cards on their own. Black's fine.
So I actually don't have all the names memorized. I just know what the text does for most of them.
Yeah, the vessels. I think I'm higher on the vessels than sealed. It's just
so the vessel of nascency is actually good in sealed or draft. I think, having played it in both.
Yes.
The vessel of malignity I would play in sealed, probably not draft unless I drafted a very slow deck.
Right, and I usually play cards like Vessel of Malignity in sealed, and I like that it gives us enchantments, and I like that I can pay in installments.
And the Bloodsworn, is that the vampire for 2 mana, the flying one?
Yeah, it's a good card.
That one's fun.
I mean, I like it even if I'm not vampires, just because. Alright, so that's cool.
So Rise from the Tides, if we have the right deck,
we have 2 of them.
might be good.
I have bad news, Brad. We're just building Rise from the Tides deck.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're going to play it, but I'm going to build it.
We should build the deck and see if we can play it.
I like the Lamplighter.
And by see, I mean just talk about it. Maybe or maybe not play it.
Reckless is a great card. Nagging Thoughts is great. Okay, so we do have a small selection of good blue cards.
What's the Jason Scrutiny do? I don't know.
It's playable. It's minus 4.
I actually don't like that one very much.
It's not a card I refuse to play. It's not a card I'm excited to play. Same for that Trail of Evidence, I think.
So the press for answers is actually pretty good.
It's fine. Okay. White has a ton of flyers.
Well, I'm high mana flyers.
Oh, we have 3 Cathar's Companions. How unfortunate.
Which one's that one?
It's the 3-1 that gains indestructible. Okay.
They're okay. Stern Constable's alright.
If we're playing Madness, I agree. Griff's Boon's fine if we're playing aggressive.
Actually, Griffin's Boon just seems good.
Okay, so here's the way I think about Griff's Boon. And I think that the way you should think about it is an equipment. And it costs...
Yep.
The first time to play.
That's exactly how I think about it.
Right, okay. Well, Kite Sail was a bad card. Well, no, Kite Sail was a okay to mediocre card, and this is like a worse Kite Sail.
So, Kite Sail, had it been an enchantment, would have been much better, though.
Why?
Because it was an enchantment themed set. Not to mention, this Kite Sail comes back from the graveyard, so it's Delirium when we want it, and
yeah, but you're probably not playing Delirium in your super aggressive deck. Like, I'm fine with this card.
So I think you're underestimating just having a big flying creatures. Say we strap that to a giant werewolf, and we just hit them in the air until they die from it. That's the kind of thing we could do with that. It's only 1 mana. It enables Delirium.
I mean,
so here's the thing. It's not a top pick, but it's a great 23rd card.
It fits if it fits in the deck. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so. I think your dismissiveness of it is a little preemptive. That's all I'm saying.
I would put it in any deck where I wanted, where it was either very aggressive or evasion was well worth it, like you said with werewolves. But like, I probably wouldn't play Griff's Boon in most of my black-white decks because either my creatures are small enough that they probably, or they already have evasion. I probably wouldn't play Griff's Boon in my blue-white deck. I probably would play Griff's Boon in red-white or green-white because they're usually bigger creatures and they usually lack significant evasion.
We'll see. We'll see what we end up going with. It seems we've got a pretty decent amount of playables in every color, which doesn't usually happen.
See, and the thing I don't like about that means that we don't have great playables in any one color, so we have to look at a lot of tiebreakers. So the color I liked most first was green. So let's go ahead and pull the green cards in and look at the green cards, because I think like all of the green cards are pretty good, and then
They're pretty playable.
let's check. We didn't have any green rares. That doesn't matter.
No, are any of the rares worth playing, or the artifacts, worth playing?
If we need Delirium, we can run Wicker Riches. They're just 3/1s for 3. They're fine. They get you Delirium well.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the 2-colored green deck.
So
first.
it's important to note here that we've only got 6 actual creatures.
Yep, and
They're pretty good though.
they are all great creatures. Okay, so let's put the cards that care about graveyard synergies in one pile, and the cards that care about clues and
Actually,
colors.
Crawling Sensation does not care about your graveyard synergy. It just happens to enable.
You should not run Crawling Sensation unless you are actively caring about milling yourself. It is a mediocre card unless you really want Delirium or benefit from cards going into your graveyard.
It's an okay card. I mean, it's basically free. It's not as good as the other one that just gives you creatures when your creatures die.
I mean,
it's certainly not worth playing in the cards we've selected right now.
so
Let's see what can go with them. So let's start by going with the black Delirium cards and see how that takes the deck.
I think we can run a Merciless Resolve. And we're black and green. We don't really have any.
We only have 10 creatures. Not very good.
We can run the Wicker Witches. They're fine without being great. And we can also run Olivia's Bloodsworn, which is fine without being great. Like, this is all stuff we could run.
That's not a very good deck.
I don't think so.
First of all, it has 10 non-creature spells. That's way too many.
More importantly, we're just not getting the payoff for Delirium that we need to get.
So,
let's look at red. Let's look at the beatdown deck.
Some of these I don't know if you want to actually play.
Oh, we'll go ahead and cut them out from there. I just want to put them all there. We could also run dual shots in this specific deck if it ends up having a lot of first strike. Alright, so Skin Evasion is probably like a 2 or 3 drop. We're probably not running the Masquerade.
I don't think we have enough vampires.
No. Well, attacking creatures you get first strike is not terrible, but I don't think it's necessary.
I think you only want it if you can use both abilities.
Okay. I don't think we run the Vessels here.
Actually, I think the Vessels are better here. Now, the Crawling Sensation, I think it's not good here.
Right. And I think we can drop the Confront.
We don't seem to have any of the mechanics in green.
Oh, the mechanic
There's
here.
very little clue, investigate shenanigans going on with our green.
I mean, they were just beating down here. We've got a solid amount of 2 drops.
Yeah, but usually you have some of the clue stuff for green. We had like one card that gave us a clue token.
Yeah.
That's really pathetic.
So let's talk about the good things about this deck. There's a couple good things about this deck. Actually, I do agree that Vessel of Nascency seems
Vessel's really good.
here. Just because we don't have that many 3 drops.
So I'm not particularly liking our combat tricks. They're not wonderful.
Okay. Well,
But they're not terrible. Let's move on to just the creatures first. So we've got a reasonably good curve. We're a little short on 3 drops.
so what I would say about this that I don't like is that the only cards that we're getting that are good red cards for an aggressive deck are 3 creatures. I don't think any of these other red cards are good creatures.
No, they're not great.
And I think we're getting 4 okay cards.
Yeah, they're not that wonderful.
I do think Skin Invasion is the best in this deck
Mm-hmm.
because green just has the beef that we can, put it on one of their guys and then play a Stoic Builder and block, or any of our cards will trade well. But
Yeah, I don't think we're really getting it for this deck. Of course, we actually didn't get very many of the great creatures for green. We just got the decent ones.
we just didn't get enough green,
We didn't get enough of any color, I don't think.
right? So
So let's cut the red and try a different color then. We've tried the black and didn't really get anything. We tried the red, didn't really like it. So let's just move on to the next color.
all right, let's go ahead and get the green cards we have back. Let's leave Weirding Wood. We'll decide to play that if we're playing in a 3-color
And
deck.
put it in that column for some reason. One column over, all the way near the top.
Yeah, it's over here. It's fine. It's not
Oh,
unplayable.
I thought you were putting all the green cards back in the deck for some reason.
No. This is our unplayable list. I don't think these cards are playable.
Alright, so let's add the blue next, I guess.
I think we can do. No, we can do blue last. Blue is going to be a very. I can already tell by looking at blue that there's just not enough creatures here. So blue is going to be an all-in color. If we're playing blue, we're probably playing Rise from the Tides. I think it's the only way to play it. There's just not a lot of creatures in this. In this stack. In fact, there's 3 creatures: Reckless Scholar and 2 Lamplights.
Well, so we could look at the green blue deck too, Because we've got pretty decent creatures in green, and we could use all spells from blue.
Would you be comfortable playing a deck with 9 creatures?
It's supposedly able to be done. I don't personally like the archetype, but if it looks fun enough, we can try it.
Well, let's try white first because that's a little bit more of a full color for us. We have way more white cards than we do blue.
Yeah, we do.
And we can really, like, we don't even have to run, we can run Moorland Drifters here. And Catharticus Companions. And I think
the Moorland Drifter do?
It's just the 2/2. Or we'll show it when it comes up.
There's the Delirium 2/2, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and keep the vessel up here.
So once we've got all the non-creatures sorted.
So let's go ahead and put
Yeah, that's a non-creature.
I think this is one of the more viable decks.
We've got 2 other non-creatures that need to be pulled out. You said the vessel you're going to count as a creature. There's still one more.
Oh, sorry, crawling sensation. Okay, so I think that this deck does want Delirium, but it doesn't want Delirium at the cost of running mid-grade cards. So, like, I think you cut crawling sensation here.
Yeah, it's not very good. We're also above the 23 card mark, so.
Right.
Alright, so now looking at our curve, it looks a lot better than the red deck that we put together.
Yeah. I think we actually get to the curve amount by cutting, specifically, well, we could cut a vessel.
I think they're too good to cut.
Okay, then.
Because getting Delirium and getting that Angel is probably worth it.
Yeah. You can't get sorceries with the vessel, so there's always the chance you mill it, which isn't that big of a deal.
So right now we don't have but 1 sorcery and 2 sorceries and 1 instant. So that's a little sad for Delirium.
Right, but we'll normally have a land, an enchantment, and a creature in.
That's true.
But yeah,
I mean that still leaves us getting one of those instants or sorceries before we can actually get it.
You're right. If we were running this, we probably would need to include.
Probably another instant or sorcery.
Well, we have 2. We have 3 playable instants, and we could run them, or we could run a Wicker Witch. All of these provide.
So a Wicker Witch is probably worth it because we do have 3 cards I'm interested in having Delirium on at least. So.
Well, we could just consider all 3 or all 4 of these cards as cards I would prefer not to run overall, but would be fine Delirium enables, and they all enable Delirium roughly as well. Because I can say with 2 vessels, with 3 vessels, we will often have an enchantment.
We're going to have the enchantment.
Right. We might not be guaranteed on land, which might be a little tricky, but either of the Vessels of Nascency will set us that.
Yeah, those are both fine cards. All right, so let's take a look at our creatures in general. We've got.
Let's pull back.
What's the recruiter? Is it also a 2/2? Is it a 2/1? It's an excellent creature.
The recruiter's a 2/2 that becomes a 3/3.
Okay, and it lets us recruit, obviously, which is just reveal a creature card and put it in your hand, right?
Yeah. We actually might end up having to run Crawling Sensation.
You don't.
Because
you probably don't want to run it.
We only have 2 ways to get lands into our graveyard.
The 2 vassals?
Yeah.
And we don't have a land that lets us sacrifice it in any way?
We have no sacrifice outlets, and we have no discard lists. We could run.
So by the time we hit 6 mana, though, we'll probably have Delirium.
The other option is, of course, the running Stern Const.
I don't think we'll run that.
I don't think we have enough.
Alright, so I think if we cut Calling Sensation and we cut at least 1 to 3 combat tricks, because I don't want to run that many combat tricks. The clue one is pretty good because we don't have very many clue token things. We actually might want to run that one because it has Investigate, the one you just cut.
Yeah.
So since we have one, or are we playing 2 of the ones that get indestructible if we play a spell?
We have 3.
We have 3 of those? Wow. So we definitely want to be playing a little higher spell count than normal. Just because that'll make those really powerful. So you can sort these by color again if you want.
No, we have them sorted pretty well.
Okay. So I think putting the other one that has Investigate in there was probably the best. And then we still need to make 3 cuts.
We could start with Humble the Brute out. I do like being able to kill a bomb, but...
I think we might as well play our removal even though it's... Meh.
It is conditional removal, and we do have 3 other pieces of just straight
Yeah,
removal.
I think it's good enough to play it, though.
Okay.
So...
Are you sure you like Griffin's Boon? There is...
Well, we have no flying and 1 reach. Correct?
1...
Possible flying.
2... 3...
And then the Vassal.
4, 5, 6 flying spells.
But Griffin's Boon does get more powerful if you put it on a bigger creature, which we do have.
Big creatures we have. I'm going to count these big creatures now. We have 3 big creatures.
Wow, that's a little sad, in fact. We don't even have the good green
It's
big creatures.
I think it's also acceptable with the Cathar's Companions.
Yeah, it is.
Just because of 4/1 flyers.
So it's okay.
But 4/1 flyers aren't great because they do die to spirits and other 1 damage effects.
True.
So it's not terrible. And it's not bad on Inspiring Captain. It's not bad on several cards.
It's not terrific. What if we... Let's see. What could we cut?
We can cut creatures.
How hard is it for us to set up Descend Upon the Sinful?
Descend on the Sinful is not cuttable.
So you think it's that good?
I would play that card even if we didn't have Ag Delirium, but I think that it's one of the best cards in the whole set.
Okay. Well, then we should keep it. So maybe we do just cut some of our instants. Which is kind of sad because they make the companions so much better.
I think the cuts look something more like... If I was doing it... So it's 2 cuts. We run 2 emissaries just because you don't want that many 5-drops. And then I think we cut Survive the Night and keep... I think I'd run it like this. We have an instant and a sorcery, which is not a ton of ways to get that ability, but it's fine. Descend is fine with or without that ability. And we have a lot of things that we're just kind of like a beatdown deck. I do like the Griffin's Boon here. I like it on the Cathar's Companions. I like it on the creatures. I like the Duskwatch Recruiter here, being able to get more creatures. I like Reaper, being able to kill our opponent out of nowhere. I think this is a deck worth saving. I don't think it's going to be my preference, but I do think it's probably one of the more consistent ones.
Yeah, I would like to try to get 1 more instant in there.
We can also just run...
I would also think we should run 1 Wicker Witch, probably over the instant, actually.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. Okay, so we should probably cut a... I mean...
I think the Vassal's too good to cut. Because we want to be able to dig to our creatures.
We could cut Stoic Rebuilder. It's the worst creature. And we do have several things to do with our mana. These are all acceptable plays on turn 3.
Okay, that's fine. 15 lands, 8 other, that's pretty good. We don't have the best mix of cards to get Delirium, but that's fine.
So let's look at what that would look like, and we'll save this as our first deck. Let's go down.
Probably more like 9 and 8. And then you might have some actual lands to put in.
We don't.
Oh, you already made sure?
Yeah. Save deck. How do I start a new deck?
Down there, the plus.
Alright, and I think this is going to be, we'll say blue XX. I want to look at the blue deck.
I definitely want to look at the blue deck.
So, I think that is probably our best beatdown deck. Let's build a deck that plays Rise from the Tides. That deck's going to be weird. And it's going to look weird. But all we need is enough removal for it to be good.
Yeah, I don't think we have enough removal for it to be good. I think you might have to look at red for removal.
Let's see. You're probably right.
So you want to play the Favored Visions, probably.
Probably. Actually, you know what I think I'd run this deck? I think I might run it with... Well, I don't know if we run the Favored Visions just because red's not offering a lot other than that specific card. I think we run it.
With the good green?
Mm-hmm. I think we just run the Vessels and let the Vessels do a lot of the work. And then we double check to see if there's any white cards we care about.
Probably not. Unless you want to take the Wrath.
We gotta run that too. We gotta run Rats of Rats.
So the only problem I have with sealed pools is sometimes you get something like this, and I just don't want to play this for 5 rounds.
I do want to play this for 5 rounds. But Brett, well, yeah, we do have options though. We have 2 different decks that we can lead in. You know,
And you like this more than you like the deck we
I am not even done building this deck, so I have no idea. In fact, this is going to be the kind of deck that I'm going to have to play to even know if it's good. There's a chance it's terrible. There's also the chance that some games we need to be green-white, and some games we need to be blue-black, but whatever this is. It just depends on how slow our opponent's decks are. Let's go ahead.
I don't think we want to change to this if our opponent is slow, and I definitely don't want to change to this if our opponent is super fast. So...
No, it's better. If our opponent is playing, like, removal spells to kill our stuff, I would rather have a deck that's going to put out 7 to 12 2/2s and can do that twice. Like a deck that says, I hope you have a Wrath or you're going to lose the game right now. That's what this deck is trying to do.
It's definitely trying.
We'll see if it's there. There's a lot of cards going on here.
Yes, and a lot of cuts that need to be made.
A ton of cuts. And hopefully a color will be cut. Or most of a color will be cut.
I think we should start by cutting blue. You
Then-
see, it's funny because you're trying to build Rise from the Tucks.
Yeah, no. I think blue is actually the best color here. I think black is the color to cut.
Oh, I'm just joking with you, Dan.
Let's see. What lands do we have to make this easier? Because we do need lands to make this easier. Alright. So we do have 2 lands that can help. So we could do a light splash for black. Let's look at it without black first. Just not particularly exciting. I don't know if we have the mana fixing to do this deck is actually my biggest concern right now.
So that is 22 cards. And it does have some mana fixing built into it. You could also put Lone Dryad in there for a little more mana fixing.
I don't think we need Lone Dryad.
Or you could put...
we
you don't already have it in there. Yeah, you do have the Weirding Wood.
Let's counter sorceries and instants. That's what this deck really comes down to. I don't know if 10 is enough. I guess the Vessels usually count as a sorcery or instant.
Because they'll probably flip one.
I'm not sure if we should run Trail of Evidence. That's a really slow card.
I think in this deck, we do want to run it.
I don't like running the Weirding Wood.
Why not?
Just, it's fine without being great, but I'd rather just run another sorcery instant, but we don't have any to run, do we?
Nope. We do not.
So let's look at the other colors and see what they offer. Just
None of
That's
them have
double
instants
white.
and sorceries that are worth running, is the thing.
those are both worth running, but they're not whatever. Black has Throttle. Has Merciless Resolve, which I do like, but is not necessarily just amazing. Red has nothing.
I think diluting the deck with another color is going to make your mana too much worse.
I think, yeah. I agree because there's not a payoff on it.
So, what is this deck doing until it can live to do its thing?
think it's just trying to slow the game down with...
A lot of these do slow the game down, not significantly. Does it have a Madness outlet to use that?
It has Reckless Scholar. Let's put the Madness outlets to the side, because that is important. That is significantly important.
And possibly the zombie, though I don't think there's another zombie in the deck right now besides the tokens.
Yeah, the 2 Resin types.
So, not really a discard outlet then.
And not a good discard outlet, because it costs 5.
Well, we do need one more card to have 23, so. That or a low drop is probably best.
We can run Wicker Witches. They're probably better than... A Wicker Witch is probably better than a 5-mana 3/5. When our goal is just to get to the later game. So... we do have the right amount of instant sorceries. I'm not sure we have the right mix of them.
As far as to delay the game, you mean, right?
Yeah, you don't have to delay it too long.
You do have to delay it for a very long time. Hopefully your creatures do most of that. Now, most of our creatures don't have a very high toughness like I would like. So that's not good.
These 2 are particularly good for blocking and attacking.
Yeah, but those are 4 and 5 mana. 4 and 5 means we're almost ready for Rise of the Tides. We need some high toughness 3 drops, which we don't have.
We have gang blocks. These cards work well for gang blocks.
And they have Investigate. I do like that.
Yeah.
And the Confront the Unknown is quite good with this many Investigate cards.
Yeah. Welcome to the Fold does good work here as well. Even if you can't usually cast it for Madness, you can just take one of their 3/1s or one of their 2/2s off the board and then block with one of their 2/2s and try to get essentially what turns out to be a 3/1. But it's a 2/1 in itself. Right now, it's not a great 2/1 because it's just take a 2 power or 2 toughness creature, which is better against the red deck, worse against the blue deck, and fine against the rest of the decks. But if you can Madness it out, which we only have 2 outlets for, which I don't love, but I do think it's still worth running. I mean, I would run this card even without Madness.
Oh yeah, it's worth it. I think this is the deck if you want to play this deck. This is not the deck I think we want to play for 5 rounds.
Well, we can go back and forth. Remember, we can choose which deck we're playing each round.
And each match of each round, right?
Yeah.
That seems right.
Oh, no, wait. We need to...
We need to cut a land and put the dual land in there, right?
Yeah.
One day we'll open a pool that doesn't have a bunch of lands in it. That are rares.
So is there a deck we want to run that's like red, blue, white? I don't think so.
Well, so if we had any of the stuff to enable our red stuff, it would probably be a very fun deck, but we don't.
We could run red, white, black beatdown. Do you want to look at that?
Not really. I don't think we have the creatures for it. And 3 colors in a deck that wants to beat down, I think it's going to have too many mana problems.
Usually, but maybe it's more of a mid-range deck. We have mana for it-ish. I don't think this would be great, but let's just get the best white, black, and red cards and look at that deck. So, because we might like it better, or that might be a deck we want to consider. I really do like the card quality in white. I just wish we had more combos.
Well, what I wish is we had a very clear designation of what we should be playing. Like, we don't have any of the synergies that would be nice that you get in draft. Could you draft them? So.
Yeah. So we're white, black, red. What does that look like?
Looks like a pile of junk, Daniel. First of all, it's 35 cards.
Yeah, we have to make some cuts, Brad.
Nope. Ship it.
No. No reason to rush.
No, I'm joking.
Um,
Are you trying to sort it creatures, non-creatures?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's creatures, non-creatures.
You got a few more.
There we go. The vessel's basically creature.
Still got 2 more.
What?
It says 10. You've got 8 down at the bottom, so there's at least 1 more.
There's the vessel.
And something else.
Oh, spiteful motives. You are correct.
Well, I mean, all I'm doing is reading the other category over there that's not creatures.
Alright, so this is way too many cards.
So I do like Spiteful Motives. That's a fun card, especially in our deck. Rush of Adrenaline's a little bit weak.
What if we just look at red, white?
Let's try that.
Well, let's not look at black. Black.
It's not really gaining us very much except Throttle.
It's just not enough cards. Okay, so let's see if there's.
So this actually looks like an okay deck. Doesn't look like a great deck.
Well, we have a land to play with it too, so the mana's slightly better than it looks. Alright, and I do think this
By
is.
1 card.
Yeah. Let's see how many cards that have Madness, because this would be the Madness beatdown deck. So let's set our Madness cards. How many vampires do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Not enough to play vampire cards. We could play the first strike only card, though. Like, we could play.
It might be worth it if we're trying to do that.
Attacking creatures get first strike. Well, I mean, what else is this deck doing other than attacking? I do like the reset button. I'm not even sure if I like Humble the Brute here. It may not be necessarily. And we just have combat tricks. I mean, this definitely looks like the deck that I think you would pick.
No, I actually don't like playing red-white.
You don't think this is a good deck?
So if you look, all the creatures are still tiny. So one good blocker may not be able to get through it.
That's why you have the combat tricks. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 combat tricks. 1 thing to get first strike.
So let's try to cut it down to the required number of cards. You gonna explain why you're cutting these things? You're just doing.
Oh, we're just covering based on the curve. We should cut some of these combat tricks too. I don't know if we should run the Masquerade. We probably should. I mean, what does this deck?
I'd start by cutting Rush of Adrenaline or Strength in Arms.
I really like having combat tricks in low to the ground decks like this. I think they're basically essential because the longer the game goes, the more likely you are to lose. So you have to win immediately. You just have to press and press and press to win. Because none of these cards hold up in the late game well, with the exception of, like, that. Like, these 4 cards, the only cards that are good late. The rest of these cards are just terrible late, right?
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. So we need to cut 7 more cards. Do we want to try cutting some of the high end?
Well, we should look first at the... I do think we'll probably cut another... We might cut another Emissary. I like having some amount of
We'll
fun.
set them aside then.
I like cutting at least one of these. Probably 1 Hulking Devil.
Hulking Devil is real good with Griffin's Boon. That doesn't mean we need to play 2.
Yeah. I don't like Ravenous Bloodseeker unless we're real heavy into Madness. And right now we only have 2 cards that work well with discarding. 3, sorry. We have 2 Madness cards and Griffin's Boon, which I think is fine with Madness without being great. But I don't think a 2-mana 1/3 is good either.
Yeah, what sort of Berserker is that is a 1/3 unless it's Berserking?
Yeah. I don't mind Stern Constable in this deck as much, just because playing it on turn 1 and getting out cards like... Well, we only have specifically 2, but discarding your higher end stuff that you don't have time to play to get through the damage is decent.
Yeah, I don't know if we want to play Skin Invasion or not. It's good for making one of their creatures attack so that we get to attack through it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like the idea of playing it. So we still need to make 4 more cuts if we cut all those things over there.
So these are the cards I would consider cutting. I like these 6 cards quite a bit. I like the Descend.
I don't think it was right for this deck, though.
Well, let's see.
It is very powerful and it'd be very unexpected.
How many times are we going to have Delirium? Because basically what this can do is get in 4 to 8 damage every time we cast it if we're going to have Delirium.
I don't think we have any sorceries in our deck, do we?
Do we need sorceries? We have 3 instants, 3 enchantments, creatures, and lands. Do we have a way to get lands in the graveyard is the question. And
we have a couple of discard outlets. Actually, just one. I think you cut the other one.
Oh. Well, you could put the Bloodseeker in, and then you have 2 discard outlets. I don't know if that's good enough with Descend.
I mean, I hate to not play it, but at the same time, I don't think it fits in this deck. So if you got those 4 cards, we're only 1 card over. We should try to make room for the Masquerade, or maybe just sideboard it in.
I think we should run it.
All right, so we need to cut 2 cards.
I think those are the cuts.
Go for it. This deck shaped up a little bit nicer than I thought it was going to.
We could just cut the Vessel and put a different drop, just because we have so many high drops. We could also...
I think the flying cards are good.
We could also just run 16 lands.
Actually, 16 lands seems viable.
You know what we could do instead of run the Stern Constable? This is the right kind of deck for Magmatic Chasm, by the way.
You're correct. All right. Let's shove lands in it.
This is probably not the kind of deck I prefer, but sometimes this is definitely the right deck to play because you're not going to beat their deck, and you need to go underneath it.
That seems fun.
Sure.
Well, I like it a lot more than I thought I would.
Alright.
So let's look at this, and then let's go back and look at the green-white deck that we built.
So you like the standard creature-based decks most?
That other deck seems like it could draw everything out of order and wouldn't do too well.
I agree with you on that. Alright, so strength of this deck is it's fast, it's low to the ground, and it's going to do well against decks that are slightly slower.
Also, if you look, we have 3 ways to make them not block. So when they leave something up to block, it just doesn't block.
And we actually have 4, or like 5. Like, all of these cards make it hard to block or unprofitable to block.
Oh, well, unprofitable and impossible.
Yeah.
So
So
all those cards are great for if they're blocking.
Yep.
Which is not very common to have the support you need to push the damage through, I don't think. So maybe that is our best bet.
There's the green-white deck, which...
So this deck...
It's definitely our mid-range deck. It's just a beatdown deck. The only thing I think this deck really has going for it well is that it has quality early drops and quality late drops. I feel like the cards in the middle just aren't great. It's leaning on Descend quite a bit.
Yeah.
And maybe you can with 2/4 flyers.
I think I'm liking the red-white deck the best. What deck would you prefer to start in our first match? Do you want to try this deck?
I don't know.
I mean, with only 8 creatures, it's going to be hard to put anything on the board.
I think I like starting red-white and then boarding in to this deck and then going from there based on what they do. Just because, like, if I saw the red-white deck, let's say you played against the red-white deck, what would your natural inclination be to do game 2? And it would be...
Board in a bunch of tiny creatures.
Bunch of...
To race, or to be able to block.
To slow down the game. And when you're playing a different game plan, I really like this deck.
Well, so the problem with that is they're going to board in a bunch of creatures, and then we're going to not play any creatures to block those.
We have creatures to block those. If they're putting in
8 creatures,
8 creatures, and
8
then
creatures is not a lot.
Well, it's not just 8 creatures. I mean, basically, all of these cards deal really well with early cards. That's just the first 4 turns, and then if you make it to turn 5s and 6, or later than that, it's probably 7 and 8. These cards deal with small creatures exceedingly well. Once you're in the web, is basically a 3-for-1. When we cast Rise from the Tides, I would assume most games we're getting 4 to more than that, because
I mean, even if we only get 4, that's probably enough.
yeah, so it's fine. I really just want to try this deck as well, because you can't know if this kind of deck is, is it the spider spawning of the set? And
So I don't think we have enough cards to make it worthwhile this time.
I don't think we're gonna have more cards than this. We have 2 Rise from the Tides. Like, we're not all in on the first one, and we have a lot of draw and investigate. How many cards do we have that draw cards?
Well, we have quite a bit, but I still don't think this deck is our best bet for winning. It looks fun, but
I'm here to have fun, Brad.
I'm not here to have fun. I'm here to have a decent record. I'm going to have more fun if we win.
I think this deck's better than you can give it account for, but yeah, I do think that it is an odd deck.
There will hopefully be a matchup where this is a great deck to play.
I mean, all of these cards are like massive card advantage cards.
But the problem is, a lot of those, you're burning mana every turn to deal with their creatures, but you're not killing their creatures. You're just not taking damage that turn.
I think Press for Answers is the only one that does that.
Jason's Scrutiny only does
I mean, unless you're having to cast that really early, you're just setting up big gang blocks. You're just using all your creatures to block.
With only 8 creatures, though, I think you're going to have that problem pretty often if they come out. If they come out like our red-white deck is going to come out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if they come out with the red-white deck, this is not...
So I don't think I would start this deck ever, but maybe it's a deck to go into. So
I'm
you want to play the first one?
No, I unfortunately, it is 6:30. Well, yeah, we have time to play one.
Alright. Let's do it.
So let's go ahead and start the red-white deck.
It should match us pretty quickly. Usually does it within 30 to 45 seconds.
Wait. How do we denote this is the deck to use?
I think it's the one selected.
Oh, okay.
If it's not, then I don't know what we do.
Alright, we're back 1 second.